Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB Bikini Pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Today's interview is also going to be a video podcast, you guys. So if you're tuning in, go to YouTube, celestial_fit. It is going to be in the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast playlist. Of course, if you're listening right away, it's at the top. If not, scroll through it, find this guest's name, and you'll be able to watch along this interview with us. So this athlete is from North Carolina, and you might recognize her voice from the Girl Gains podcast that she hosts with wellness pro Alexis Adams. This competitor started in competitive cheer and even coached gymnastics for 7 years. And then in her pursuit of a college degree, she realized her true dreams and passions was in becoming a makeup artist. So she went to cosmetology school, and after doing extensions for 2 clients who were prepping for competition, she decided to compete herself. And in 2019, she hit the stage for the first time, taking a 3rd in her class. Then did Junior USA's. At the time, you guys, it wasn't top 2. It was top 3, just for clarifications. And then did Junior USA's and placed 3rd before going on to Universe, where she had a turn of events, got 3rd callouts. And with a year off to improve, she came back to compete and did 3 more national shows before earning her pro card at the 2023 Universe show. In the midst of all this, she put a stop to her salon studio business and went full-time into stage glam, where she not only helps women bring their best glam to the stage, but also gives us insight into how to perfect our overall look with her virtual stage glam seminars and beauty consultations, which I just think is so cool. I'm excited to learn about that. And between her 2022 and 2023 season, she underwent what she calls her mindset makeover. You guys know I will appreciate that, to address her mental health struggles before having the hardest prep she's ever had that ultimately ended in her pro card win. She has been documenting her bodybuilding and beauty journey on YouTube for 9 years. So when you fall in love with her through this podcast, you'll have to go check that out. And she is now here to share, of course, some of her story with us. So welcome to the show, Amber Pacholok. How are you doing?
I'm amazing. What an intro. Wow. Thank you so much for having me. Beyond flattered, beyond grateful. I just think what you do is absolutely amazing. So when you asked me to come on, I was flabbergasted. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're so humble, and I appreciate that about you, because it's a blessing for me to have you on. And just the conversation we had before recording too, I just feel really connected to you already. So I'm grateful that you're here, and I'm going to ask you if you have a ritual or something you do or think about right before your heel hits the stage.
I do actually. So the first thing I always do is pray. I'll say a prayer because I'm a praying girl. And then after my prayer, whatever music is on, I literally tell myself, all right, bitch, let's go. And I say this all the time. It's like, I love the Lord, but I curse a little bit. So just bear with me. All right.
That is so cute. I love that. Are your prayers different before each time you step on stage?
Yeah, they are. They are. Because I'm all about being in alignment and just going with the flow. So every time it's always different because every prep is always different. Every peak is different. So yeah.
Absolutely. So I want to just talk straight away about this most recent prep, because you've named it your hardest prep yet. And in that vulnerable reflection video you made after, you talked about some of the challenges you face, not just self-doubt, but also your marriage and mental demands that you face. So can you open up to us about what made this prep the hardest in comparison to past experiences?
Yeah, so I went through a lot after I closed my salon. So the reason behind it was, again, like I said, I'm someone who is just very in tune with myself. I'm a self-aware queen. And then also just like my relationship with God is very important. And God, the universe, whatever makes you comfortable, it has a way of speaking to you. And I'll never forget when I was at my old salon, I was just having a rough day. It was the summertime. And I looked around the salon floor and I said to myself, God, am I going to be chained behind a chair for the rest of my life? Like, is this it? And clear as day, God said, nope, 7 years. And it caught me off guard because I thought,
chills.
did I just say this out loud? Because it was that clear. And so I said, okay, cool. And when you're not obedient with God and you don't move when he tells you to move, things start to get a little dicey, right? So he told me 7 years behind the chair. I did 10. And when I got to that last tail end, so basically right after 2021 was when I left my salon that I basically grew up in. And I was there for 8 years with the whole COVID situation. It was just madness, as we all know. And I shifted and got my own salon studio. And so while doing that, I knew it was time for me to move on from my old salon. What I should have done was just cut it then. But of course, scared. I've been building this clientele. I've been doing hair color and makeup, for rides and whatnot. And so it was just scary at that moment. I wasn't mentally ready to do so. And so I went along with it, did my whole salon studio again. Then fast forward summer of 2022, I just noticed I started having panic attacks again. And I hadn't had a panic attack since I was 19 years old. So at that moment, I understood that something is wrong. I have too much going on, because it was right after Junior USA's. And I was in my office and a client had texted me, and I don't know what it was. I just got to the point where I was just like, I cannot do this anymore. Like, mentally, I cannot do this anymore. And I knew physically I had some things going on. I had been working in pain for easily 3 years. There'd be plenty of times where I'd be in the middle of a haircut and I couldn't even feel my fingers. But, we just keep pushing on. So I'd go home because, salon culture, I'm very grateful for my salon venture that I had, but the salon culture can be very intense and very demanding. They don't teach you how to take care of your body. So unfortunately, hairstylists have piss poor nutrition, and they kind of train you up in a way of, if you're not behind the chair 24/7, you're not going to be successful. There's no such thing as downtime. It's go, 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 go. Like, there'd be times where I would start working at 9 o'clock and I might not leave the salon until like 8:30. That's a long time to be up on your feet. So just, repetition of doing that. And then one thing that I absolutely love is that I have a diverse clientele. So no matter where you're from, what your hair looks like, if you're bone straight, fine hair, if you have curly, kinky hair like mine, I can do it, which is great. However, when I'm working with clients, and most of my clients had a lot of like thick curly hair like myself, which is great, but that's just really demanding on the body. So my arm, my shoulder, my elbow, long story short, after my competition at the Charlotte Cup of 2022, I was actually getting ready to go on stage, and Jordan, my coach, she was looking me over and she said, "What is this lump on your back?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" Because she doesn't miss a beat. She sees everything. And I like to respect my coach's time, and I don't want to bother her. But of course, and she got on me, and she still gets on me because I have to do better about it. But I didn't say that I was in pain, because unfortunately, I'm just used to working through pain. Long story short, went to a new chiropractor, got an x-ray, found out that I have scoliosis. I have not one, but two curves in my spine. And I also have arthritis in the left side of my neck. So at that juncture, my chiropractor was saying, "Hey, you have a lot of things going on. Your x-ray lit up like a Christmas tree. I don't know what you're doing, but you have to you got to make some changes." And at that point, when he said arthritis, it didn't really click with me, how intense and serious it was. And so I said, "Oh, okay, so how can we fix it?" And my chiropractor put his hand on my shoulder. He said, "No, you have arthritis. There's no going back. You can't reverse it. Now, all we can do is just figure out how we can slow the progression." So at that moment, my husband's looking at me and he's like, "Listen, you're mid-30s. We don't have any children yet. No, you can't keep going on like this." And at that moment, I had already started doing stage glam in 2021. And he just kind of said, "You're working the salon and you're not in the best health wise at this point with COVID, because let's face it, hair is a luxury service. You don't have, especially the services that I do, I'm predominantly a hair colorist. You don't have to go get your hair colored. You know what I mean?" And I understood that. And I was always very gracious for anybody that sits in my chair, especially after COVID. But it just got to the point where he pointed out, "Hey, I need to keep you healthy. We don't have kids yet. And secondly, I'm realizing when you're working and doing your stage glam on the weekends, you're making more money doing that versus the salon. You're just working to keep the lights on, make a decision. So I had to make that hard decision. And I didn't realize how much that was going to impact my mental health. It killed my mental health because I am someone that unfortunately I put my value and my self-worth in my work, which I know is not healthy. And it's something that I'm working on every single day. But I've spent 10 years building a salon clientele. And now all of a sudden, all that has been wiped clean, gone. And so I'm thinking all that hard work, all that hustle, all that grind, what was it for? Working those long 12-hour days, working a 12-hour day, then doing a bridal the next day, and then going in for a client because they decide to cancel on me last minute and I'm not respecting my time and my boundaries. I'm like, I did all of that and I ended up running myself into the ground. And so now I didn't realize that I had made myself and my self-worth identity as I'm a hairstylist. And so now that I'm not in the salon anymore, it's like, no, I'm still a hairstylist. I still do hair. It's just not in salon, but I had an identity crisis. Of
course.
I had an identity crisis. And then now I'm not anywhere close to making the amount of money that I used to make. So with those two things really, really tanked me. And then, so that was the summer of 2022. And then fast forward to fall time. Now, my husband and I, we're not vibing. We're just, we were having a really, really rocky, hard time to the point where I did not think we were going to make it. I was definitely considering, not definitely, I was going to move to New York City and I was going to go work for Dyson. Like I had already had a whole nother plan. But for some reason, again, God said, nope, that's not what you need to be doing. And so we were able to, by the grace of God, work through that, which I'm so grateful for. So when we started prep in February, I had all of this going on. I'm still struggling with my identity crisis. I'm still trying to figure out, okay, well, financially, like I have to restructure my entire business. My business that I spent 10 years building is kind of being wiped clean, essentially, and I have to restructure it. And now I'm trying to pull my marriage together because I honestly didn't think I was going to get on stage this year. I had no intentions of competing this year, especially when I had all the things going on. I was just thinking to myself, there's no way in hell I can pull this off. But then mid-February, I just woke up one day and I said, you know what? This is a goal of mine. The thing about bodybuilding for me, it is so far beyond looking cute on stage or getting the pics. Like it's literally the only thing in my life that is for me. No one else can do it for me and no one else can take it away from me. So that's why it's so important because, you know, like when you work in the service industry, you're constantly giving and giving and doing for others, which I love. And I understand that's my purpose, but it gets to a point where it's like, well, shit, what do I have for myself? What am I doing for myself? And so that's why bodybuilding is so important to me. Yeah, it's extreme, but it's just my thing. That's why I love it so much. So this prep was so difficult because I had just so many letdowns and disappointments just leading up to it. And so when I woke up February, I was like, no, girl, this is for you. This is the one thing in your life that you have that's strictly for you. We're not going to let any nonsense or anything outside of this disturb you. Let's go. So I told Jay, hey, I want to prep. She knew everything that was going on. She's really big on making sure the mind and the heart are on point because she's yanked me out of prep before. She's yanked some of my other teammates out of prep. If our minds aren't right and clear, she won't let us do it no matter what the body is looking like. So we had a long conversation, of course. And she said, okay, let's start. We started mid-February. I was good to go. March came. And I remember talking to Alexis because after you've done a couple of preps, you know the prep feels like you have your prep markers, right? And I remember telling to her, I was like, yo, it is too early in the game for me to be feeling this shitty. Something is wrong. She said, maybe it's just because, you know, it's just taking some time for your body to get together. I said, okay, we'll see. And then I had to call Jay one day and I was just like, look, something is wrong. I am so exhausted. I cannot get out of bed. It was one day where Murillo came home from work and he said, "You've been here all day. Like, you got to get up. You got to move." I had no energy. I just felt drained. So finally, we went, got my blood work done, found out I had no cortisol and no testosterone.
Whoa.
That's why I felt horrible. And so the hormone specialist just said to me, "I don't even know how you're functioning right now." So that, on top of my emotions and personal stuff, it just made everything very, very difficult at the very beginning of prep. I had to dig deeper than I've ever had. I've had to go places I've never gone. I've had to do things I've never done before. So with everything between my hormones and personal and work and marriage stuff, that's why it was so difficult.
Wow. Well, that sounds incredibly challenging, especially like given everything that led into that season too. Like it wasn't just, this is something I think needs to be understood. And when you go through it yourself, you understand it. We have to remember others go through it too. Most of the time, the season we see is a result of many seasons before it too. It's not just that you pushed in that season and you got the pro card. It's that you made big life decisions leading into it as well. And you had your come to Jesus moments and
Yeah.
to make some really hard decisions. And then I think in some ways it sounds like those difficult decisions in your personal life actually maybe supported you in it making some hard decisions or more mindful decisions in this prep.
Oh, 100%, absolutely. And it is so amazing, especially just with my husband and I, how things turned around for us. He was supportive before, and I'm not gonna lie, when I first started bodybuilding in 2019, so we got married New Year's Eve 2018.
Okay.
March 2019, I decided I'm gonna be a bodybuilder. So now he's looking at me like I'm crazy because
This
we
woman I just married.
yeah, right, basically, because before we even got married, we were together for 4.5 years. So we've been together for 9 years in total. So he's looking at me as if I have five heads, thinking, "What are you talking about? Bodybuilding?" Because I was already going to the gym and doing things like that, but I just felt I wanted to compete. And from the outside looking in, my husband, he's old school when it comes to certain things. And so he wasn't comfortable with it. You're on stage and your butt's out. And granted, he's Brazilian, so he's used to seeing butts all the time. Like that's not a big deal to
Not
him,
about
but
the butt.
it's not about the butt at all. No, he's like, whatever. I see butts all the time. I've grew up seeing butts on a regular basis, but it was just him trying to wrap his head around, well, hold on. First of all, we just got married. And I honestly, I didn't realize how much of a big commitment bodybuilding was going to be. I didn't know. Because at the beginning, you don't know what you don't know.
That's right.
And so him trying to wrap his head around that, it took him a minute to get on board. And he was supportive, but he was just very hesitant about it because from the outside looking in, we understand that it's not just us showing our butts on Instagram. You know what I mean? We understand it's a muscle, it's an art. Everybody else on the outside, they don't see it that way. And that's what he was saying. He's like, "I'm sorry, I don't see it that way. Most people don't see it that way." So trying to make him see it a specific way was very difficult. But then, fast forward now, had it not been for him, I would have never done Universe. Had it not been for him, I probably wouldn't have done my pro debut 2 days ago. So it's just very heartwarming to see the growth that we've had.
So what did he say? Because I had some listeners asking what really encouraged you to do Universe. So that just answered the question.
Okay.
But what was it that ultimately what was his influence that made you realize like, yes, I could go through with Universe and yes, I could make my pro debut?
So it started honestly with Chattanooga Junior Nationals. We were getting ready because we drove and we were getting in the car. And like I said, I understand how God speaks to me. God speaks to me with nature or through dreams. He just randomly he got in and he said, I'm supposed to tell you something. And I was like, okay, what are you supposed to tell me? He's like, "I think God's telling me to tell you to cast one more net." And I'm looking at him I was like, Lo, what the hell are you talking about? This sounds crazy. He said, no, hear me out, because there's this Netflix special that he likes called Chosen. And basically, it's the story of Jesus in modern day time. And so, there's a scripture in the Bible where the disciples are like, Jesus, there ain't no fish in the water. Nothing's happening. We're hungry. We need to get out of here. And Jesus is saying, no, cast one more net. And they do it. And then all of a sudden, an abundance of fish, right? And so he said, no, it's just like in the scripture, just like in the show Chosen, where the disciples were hungry, they didn't have any fish. Jesus said, cast one more net, and then all the fish came. So I said, okay, not thinking anything of it. We go to Chattanooga. I get sixth place. Of course, I'm a wreck at this point because the whole year has been nothing but disappointment. And so he looks at me. He said, that's why God told me to tell you to cast one more net. You did Chattanooga. It didn't go the way that we planned. You have to go again. And I didn't want to go again. I was in probably the most effed up headspace I had ever been in, because regardless if you are competing or not, show day is overstimulating. It's overstimulating when I'm working and doing stage glam. It's hella overstimulating when my friends are competing, and it's overstimulating for me when I'm competing. So you have all these post-show highs and emotions. Your serotonin is all off. You've been dieting. Hormones are all wacky. And it literally took every fiber in me to do universe. I didn't want to do it. Like, if you guys watched my vlog, like you saw the day before, I was just kind of like, F this. I don't want to be here. But because Murillo told me cast one more net, that's the only reason why I did it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you had a moment when Alexis came to the hotel room, right? And this supported your mental shift.
I was not just the travel to Jersey was hellacious. I didn't want to be there. The travel was obnoxious. The hotel was this jacked up rinky-dink hotel. I couldn't get it together. I was trying, I know how to be professional, keep a smile on my face, do all the things. Hey guys. But then by the time I got back to my room, I was getting ready to tan. My emotional battery was drained. My mental battery was drained. Knock at the door. Jordan opens it. It's Alexis. And seeing her, I don't know what it was about seeing her, but it just gave me some kind of click in my brain. And in that moment, I said, okay, it's showtime. Let's do it. And I don't know what that is. And it's just so funny because she surprised me. She originally wasn't even going to come. What she did was she had booked the flight and she booked it for the wrong day. And she said, well, shoot, I can't come and I have to work. But then she said she didn't know what it was. She just felt pressed that no, I have to be there. I have to be there for some reason. She said she didn't know why she had to be there. She just knew she had to be there. So it's just the way that everything worked out was God orchestrated, because the way I had booked my flight through American Airlines, it was basic, which I think is the most, I don't mind paying extra if I need to change, but whatever, I get it, rules are the rules. And so with me winning, my flight was at 8:00. But the photo shoot with JM was at 9. And Murillo said to me, well, you got to figure it out because you can't miss that. And Alexis said, well, that's why I'm here. So I ended up just forfeiting, not getting on my flight. I was able to do the photo shoot. And then I just rode back to Virginia with Alexis. And then my mom picked me up from her house.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. I think it's especially interesting coming from the background that you did too, working in a studio and not having a lot of support, being told you got to be on your feet all the time. You can't eat when you need to eat. Otherwise, you won't be successful. And I think it takes some, and of course, you were a coach before and an athlete before, so you understand that mentality of like pushing yourself and taking it to the limits, which, I think a lot of our greatest weaknesses can be our greatest strengths and vice versa. But when did you start to develop a community in bodybuilding that you felt like you could really rely on or turn to?
I think so. When I figured out I wanted to compete, the first show that I ever went to watch was in Charlotte, where I live, and Alexis was competing in it. That was her first show ever. And so, we always search the hashtags for the show because I wanted to see more competitors so I could really understand what this whole thing was about. And she happened to pop up and I was like, oh yeah, that's the girl that won. She looked incredible. So I just DM'd her. I was like, hey, oh my God, you look amazing. I'm starting prep. Congratulations. You did it fantastic. She said, thank you so much. And we just clicked
Oh,
instantly. And we've been homies ever since then. And we say this all the time because we don't want people to think that, oh, they're just social media friends or it's just for, specific reasons. Like, no, we're real friends. We talk every single day, all day long about everything. Like she literally knows everything about me, the deep dark stuff and vice versa. So it started with her. And then when I transitioned and I got with Jordan in 2021, of course, being on a team, you're going to get a huge influx of people as well, which that's the thing. Like how I explain it, because that's a question I get a lot. People are always asking, what's it like being on a big team? I never wanted to be on a large team. That was never my intention. I just wanted to be with the coach that I knew would take care of me. And so when I was looking for a new coach, I noticed that I was already following a lot of girls that were on Fit Body Fusion. And the one thing that I noticed was all these girls, of course, I'm going to say appeared because social media is just the highlight reel. But I thought it was very interesting that I'm following at least 8 to 10 of these girls. All 8 to 10 of these girls appear to be happy and healthy, because health is a big, big thing for me. So that's how I ended up with Jordan. And being with her, with the team comes a lot of great people. So being able to be in that community, getting to know my teammates. And then once I started doing stage glam, of course, then, there's just even more girls. And I think for me, I was very hesitant about getting on a team because I'm coming from salon culture. Salon culture is dog eat dog. Everything that I have learned within the beauty industry is because I had to scrape, learn, and figure it out. Unfortunately, a lot of people in the beauty industry, they are just not willing to help. There's a lot of gatekeeping that goes on, which is why I started doing the stage glam seminars and helping other girls with their stage glam. But I don't believe in gatekeeping because I am someone who knows how it feels to have a goal. You want to achieve something. You have the skill set, you can do it, but you can't find the resources for help, or you can't find the resources financially. So that's why that's something that's very passionate to me.
yes. Oh, I'm so excited to talk more about your business too. I want to go back to health because this has been like a theme that's coming up. And you had gotten blood work done, you had no testosterone, no cortisol. You recognize health is important to you. You also had the arthritis, and your husband saying, we don't even have kids yet. So I'm wondering if part of you focusing so much on your health is, do you have a goal of having kids, and how has that intertwined with bodybuilding decisions?
Yes. So as far as kids, I was never that girl. First of all, I'm still shook that I'm married. That was never on my radar. I was never that girl that was thinking, oh, yeah, I want to have this big, beautiful wedding. I want to be in a white dress. I want to get married. I want to have kids in the white picket fence. Like, I come from very humble beginnings. I'm the product of a single mom. So, therefore, there was not much. She did what she could and she did a damn good job of it. And so, for me, it was just a matter of, I'm just trying to survive and make it. If I happen to find a significant other along the way, cool. In my mind, I was content. I had the goal of just being a rich, hot auntie. That was my goal. And so now, fast forward, my husband, if we had kids 5 years ago, he would have been content. But now, it was actually last summer where I finally felt that flicker of, oh, okay, I want to have kids. So we definitely do want to have kids. I told him it's either two or none because I'm an only child and I refuse to have an only child. I'm not putting my kid through that. But we're definitely, it is something that's going to happen probably within, we'll say, 2 to 3 years. And it's just so interesting because, especially like culturally for him and I, you gotta go to college, you get married, you get the job, you gotta have the kid. And I don't know why society puts these BS timelines on women specifically. Like men, whatever, they can do whatever they want. But I can't tell you the comments that have been made to me because I'm 34 years old and I'm married and I don't have kids. It's just wild. Now, to myself, I'm thinking that's very invasive. You don't know what's happening. What if I'm trying and I can't? Or how about you just mind your own uterus?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something like I've had people are like talk about it more on the show, and I'm like, I won't go there unless someone says something about it because
Right.
I feel like there's a lot of that pressure already. There is a lot of that pain that can come with it too. And I think it's really great that you're willing to just share that as well, because there's probably people listening who are feeling that way too, feeling that pressure, especially like I think in the competitor space too, it's like not only are you trying to have the money to compete and to then go pro. I mean, that's a big
Mhm.
investment. And then you also want to do it on this timeline. I put 3 up here. I don't know why. This one was like, let's go. But you get this timeline and you're like, okay, now I have to like get the job, get married, and have kids all before I'm this age. And it feels like so much pressure. And that's something I've personally been feeling where I'm like, I have these bodybuilding goals, I have these career goals. I've personally always wanted a family. And I'm like, it feels like a lot, but I have recently realized, especially through talking to so many other women in the industry, that there's time. There's no rush, whether it's time to go pro or time to have kids, there's time. We've just created this, we've been put under this pressure, really.
100%. And it's like just because someone lives a different lifestyle than you or they're going about their life differently, it doesn't make you right and them wrong or vice versa. Your timeline is your timeline. And that's what I preach and say to people all the time. I'm like, congratulations, you decided to have a baby at 20 years old. I had no business with a kid at 20, okay? Because 20s, young, dumb, and broke. Absolutely not. So yeah, I'll be 35 in October. I still don't have a child. And people will say to me all the time, oh, you're going to be an old mom. And I'm like, fine, I'll be old mom with a little bit of money in the bank. I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's benefits to each. Like you can't find one that's better than the other. And I think sometimes part of social media like that is so wonderful because of the connection and finding your corner of the world that you really fit into where maybe in your community in real life you don't have that. But there's also that pressure sometimes where you see like I should be traveling the world, running my business and a side hustle and have a family, and I should be a professional athlete. Feel like, oh, and I need a healthy relationship that it's like, whoa, we don't need to do
Yes.
all of it before we're like people. I think we've been taught our life ends at 37, 38, 40
Mhm.
as women. Like it's just there's never the right time anymore.
Absolutely. And what the thing is, I know because I lived that hustle and I got to get all this done and the pressure in the timeline. That's why I burned out. That's
Mhm.
why after I closed my salon, I was a total mess. I completely underestimated and was in denial at the fact that I was burnt out. And then I underestimated how much time it would take me to come out of being burnt out. I can say right now, I am finally coming out of the burnout. That's how long
Mhm.
it took me. Because think about it this way, and I say this to women all the time that just had a baby. You had to bake the thing for 9 months, right? Why do you think you're going to be snatched in 2 months? I have been hustling and burning myself down to the ground for 10 years. Why on God's green earth did I think it was only going to take me 3 weeks to recover from that? Like, come on.
Right.
That's asinine. Do better.
Exactly. And we're so unfair to ourselves sometimes. It's just like, this is not a proper expectation or a fair expectation. And I think also, just in general, expectations can really get us, whether that's expectations for prep going a certain way or relationships going a certain way. And you experienced a lot of those types of ups and downs, especially in this prep, but even prior, like going back to a time when you were on a roll when you started your competition journey and then you went and you got third call outs. Like I've been really wondering how that affected you and if that had anything to do with you going on your like mental makeover, your mindset makeover.
100%, because you have to understand that was if you were a first time competitor during the COVID era, God bless you.
Yes.
Because
And you're still in it.
what a time to be alive. It's like, first of all, you're new to this and the structure of everything has shifted. So you're learning this, but this isn't really technically how it really is because in order to qualify for nationals, you have to get second place. I got third at my first show in 2019, but because they redid the qualification so that way they could actually have people at shows, they switched it to third. So that's the only reason why I was able to do junior USAs. And even going into junior USAs, I didn't know what to expect. I was just going, I didn't understand the magnitude of what I was doing at that point. I'm still thinking it's still like at the same regional level of what I did. Absolutely not. So it was amazing that I was even able to get a third place. But then 3 months later, going into the universe, and that's another reason why I didn't want to do universe, because universe was like a black cloud over my head. I went from third place to third call outs. That shit was wild. That mentally tanked me because, again, I understood that I was a newer competitor and I'm still learning, but that just didn't make any sense to me. Made zero sense. So after it, I just told myself, you know what? I think I might be done. I don't know that I can do this. I don't know that this thing is for me. And then on Thanksgiving, Jordan, well, let me backtrack a little bit for universe. You know how before we get ready to go on stage, we always post like our posing or suit, whatever the case may be. And Jordan messaged me. I was not her athlete at that time. We did have a consult conversation in October, but I just told her, let me finish up this rest of the prep with my current coach, and then I'll get back to y'all, figure it out. So I had posted, I think, like a posing video, and she messaged me. She said, hey, I need for you to do a couple of things. First of all, your makeup looks good. Tweak your brows, extend them out a little bit because your hair is short, so your face is on full display. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And then she said, why is your suit so big? And I was like, what? My suit bottoms are way too big. So she gave me very detailed instructions on how to manipulate my suit bottom. So I said, Murillo, read this, figure it out. I don't know how to make it better. So he's yanking it up. I'm safety pinning. We're just trying to make it work. And so at that moment, I'm thinking, okay, this girl, she, if I recall, was on the West Coast getting ready to compete herself while coaching. She had athletes that were in universe, but yet she took time to message me and tell me things that I needed to tweak. That was big to me because my love language is acts of service. And so I love helping others and doing for others, but it's always funny. Like I never really allow anyone to do for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I was just amazed that this woman took time out to help me. Like that's huge to me. So after, and she even like after she goes, how did it go? And I said, I got third call outs. And she said, well, that makes zero sense. I don't understand how you can go from third place to third call outs. That's wild, but not to worry. It's going to be okay. Didn't hear anything from her. Fast forward Thanksgiving, she sent me a message. She said, so what's up? What's happening? And, I was just telling her, I don't know if I want to compete anymore. And she was just encouraging me. And then at that moment, I said, you know what? This woman, for some reason, believes in me. I am hella skeptical with all this bodybuilding stuff right now, but let's just see what happens. And here we are.
Wow. That is so awesome. I really love that she did that for you and that she showed up for you even when she didn't have to. I think that's a very kind thing and shows a lot of her investment and belief in you prior to you paying her to believe in you, if you want to put it that way.
For sure. Because that first check-in with her, man, listen, and I tell people all the time, like, my favorite thing about her is that she is direct. She is not an enigma. And I can appreciate that. Some people, I can understand how they might think, oh my gosh, that's kind of harsh. That's kind of cold. But I think what we have to realize is we're hiring a coach. That's their job. You don't want anyone that's going to BS you because that's a time that's going to waste your time and your money, right? But she's really great at being direct. And then she'll wrap it up, put it in a bow, kiss you on the forehead, and give you some love. And so I was having a really hard time just getting that much food in me because now looking back at it, I was overworked and undernourished big time. And so she's really big on health and feeding you up because if your health is not on point, if you don't have enough food in you, prep is not happening. And I remember in the check-in saying, I'm having a really hard time getting this food in. And she said, look, I would be doing you and myself a disservice if I did not push you. You have a lot of potential. Eat your food, non-negotiable. And I was like, well, fuck, okay.
Love that.
Yeah.
How did you manage that? Because if it was hard for you, like, did you change meal timing? Did you change portion sizes?
So I'm a simple girl when it comes to my nutrition. And that's why, like, the whole, oh, you should do a meal plan. That's better. Like, you should do macros. What's better is what works for you. what can you sustain? Because I have done both. I think if you are a brand new competitor and you're not familiar with nutrition, yes, a meal plan is fantastic. When I first got into bodybuilding, one of the biggest things that I noticed for myself was, oh my gosh, I am so undernourished. Like, I'm not fueling my body properly because genetically, I have skinny genetics and a fast metabolism. It takes a lot for me to put on body fat. And some people think, oh, that's great. And the gift and the curse. And so when I realized that, that's when I decided to go to UNC Charlotte to get a holistic nutrition certification because I just wanted to learn more on how to fuel my body. Then after that, I got my nutrition coaching certification from NASM because I started just preaching to all my clients. So they're getting their hair done. But I'm like, no, you need to make sure you're fueling your body properly. So that way you can just thrive and nourish and be better. That's why you're tired. That's why you're bloated. And so I had already had those things in me. And so it was just a matter of, okay, this is going to be annoying. The one thing that I hate about macros is doing the whole Tetris game, like trying to fit everything in. But what I do is, again, that's why I tell people meal plans, macros, it's the same shit. So she'll give me my macros. I'll go ahead, plug everything in, make my meal plan, and I literally eat the same thing until she adjusts my macros. As far as timing, again, you got to get it in where you fit in, especially when I was in the salon. It was just kind of like, okay, when can I eat? The two most important meals for me is the meal before my workout and the meal after. Everything else, whatever, I'll figure it out. That's just how I roll. And I know for like the hardcore bros are like, oh my God, their brains were probably exploding. Yeah. Guess what? It worked.
Exactly. I love that you're saying this because I also experience a lot of people saying like, well, this pro does it this way, or I should do it this way, or it's like, it's the same thing. You're putting the food in your body. And at the end of the day, you've eaten all your macros, you've eaten your meal plan. And I agree with you. Like for me personally, I don't follow like a strict, like when I started, strict meal plan, strict meal timing. But then you learn and you grow and you learn more about how your body responds to certain things. And you find like your old things that used to be hard to maybe develop into habits are now so second nature that changing to something more flexible where you're building it yourself is actually quite easy. So I love that you just shared that, and you shared there's not one way to do this. You can get there in the way that's best for you. So that's really great and something that I appreciate you sharing. And I also want to hear more about like you coming back through to this prep because you took that time off to do a mental transformation, to do a deep dive in. How did that time actually support you going into this season and then ultimately recently making your pro debut? Like what lessons or perspectives have been gained?
Yeah, so 2021 spring, I started what I called a worthiness journey. And I'm still trying to unpack why I didn't feel worthy. Like, I didn't feel worthy of anything. I didn't feel worthy of being married. I didn't feel worthy of having a business. I didn't feel worthy of being, competitive athlete. I'm not sure why that was, but I had enough awareness to understand that you are your biggest roadblock. You are the reason as to why you cannot get to where you need to go. You have all of these limiting beliefs that are challenging you. And it's just basically everything is coming to a screeching halt. So spring of 2021, when I realized it, that's when I really started this whole mindset makeover before I even gave it a name. Every morning before I would brush my teeth, I have a little dry erase marker and I'd write on my mirror, you are worthy. You are beautiful. You are intelligent. I was basically writing all of these things that I did not believe I was, and it's so interesting because what I would tell my husband, because I think sometimes Lo would get offended. He's like, well, I'm telling you all these things. Cool. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. You can tell me this all day long, but if I don't believe it in here and in here, it kind of doesn't matter, but I hear you and I appreciate you. So going through that, I'm really big on journaling. Journaling is huge. And when I go back and I look at my journal, especially from last summer, man, I had to basically have what I call a gut check and say to myself, now, Amber, if one of your homies was talking to themselves in this manner, you would rip their ass wide open because this is not okay. you can't be mean to yourself. You have to exercise grace. Like, where is all of this coming from? So it's hard because when you have those moments where you have to look yourself in the mirror and deal with your own shit and put all your stuff out there. I even had to do that when Marillo and I were going through our stuff in our marriage. Like, yes, okay, he did this. However, it takes two to tango. You dropped the ball in quite a few areas as well. And what I tell people all the time is, if you can't be real with yourself, you can't be real with anybody. Nothing will change until you can address your own shit. You can be real with yourself, because once you do those things, that's half the battle right there. You're ready to thrive and soar after that.
Yeah, you have to take personal responsibility to evoke any sort of change.
Mm-hmm. And then in doing that, then I can start unpacking things. And when you start unpacking things, man, that shit can be so exhausting, because we are the way that we are 9 times out of 10 just due to situations that probably happened when we were little and we don't even realize it, you know? And so for me, I had to really dig deep and just look at some things and figure out, you know, why I don't feel worthy. Well, probably because I spend probably too much time by myself, you know? And isolation is the devil's playground. And when you spend so much time by yourself, I know for me personally, I kind of thought, well, I'm by myself all the time. So that probably means that no one likes me. So therefore, I'm probably not worthy to have friends, which means I'm probably not worthy to go do X, Y, and Z. And that wasn't the case at all. I wasn't by myself because of those things. I was just by myself because you're an only child. You know what I mean? Like, you just, that's just what it was. But now understanding that when you don't have the verbiage to really express that, because I didn't have the proper verbiage to express all of these things, you know, you just kind of, I'm really good. Since I've been little, I've been really good at just accepting shit for what it is and keeping it moving. But with that, I realized just because you accepted it doesn't mean that that's necessarily the truth.
Seriously. I always would say, and this is kind of weird, but I'm like, you gotta sometimes sit in the shit to realize how bad it smells.
For real.
And and you're gonna actually do something about it. Because
Mhm.
if you just keep ignoring it or pretending it's not there, or looking away from it, because you can exercise acceptance, but acceptance also comes with acknowledgement of what is it that you're actually accepting. It's one thing to accept it, it's another thing to be like, oh, I know it's there, but I'm just not going to look at it, but I accept that it's there. It's another thing to be like, accept it's there, and I accept that it's made this impact on me, and here's now what I'm going to do with it. And seems like in your life you've done so much with the knowledge you've gained. You know, you're very self-aware, as you said, so you've applied that self-awareness into growth. And in your recent pro debut, after you had earned your pro card and regained a lot of that confidence and like, yes, I did it, and I had people who believed in me, how did your pro debut experience compare to amateur experiences from the perspective of how you felt on stage as well as when you walked off?
Pro debut experience was lit. This was a totally different Amber, a totally different mindset, because first of all, I still haven't quite processed the fact that I'm a pro. That was just 2 weeks ago, y'all.
Right.
That wasn't long ago. And so I think that aspect is just now starting to catch up with me. I don't even know that I've truly wrapped my head around the pro debut yet, but it was such an amazing experience because, first of all, there's no pressure.
Yeah.
There's no pressure whatsoever. I'm new to the scene. It's almost like I like new. I love a fresh start. That's why I got married on New Year's Eve, because, first of all, I love a good party.
Yeah.
Good time. And it's just something about a fresh start, clean slate. I love that. I love everything about that. So that's the mindset that I had with going into my pro debut. It's like, hey, girl, you get a fresh start. There's no pressure on this. I'm literally just here to have some fun. And because there was no pressure, and because I was already just so happy and proud of myself, I knew that no matter what happened, it didn't matter because I was still going to be happy and proud of myself after. And going back to that, I have been such a student of specifically the bikini division just because I love it so much. That's what I compete in. And that's the cool thing with me doing stage glam. If I'm not too tired, if I started glam at 3 o'clock, which I try not to do, I ain't going to prejudging. I got to go to sleep. I'll catch you at finals. But the cool thing is after I work, I will go and actually sit and watch the show. And there's nothing like watching a show. That is the best way to learn. I know a lot of times people will look at the pictures and videos like, well, I don't understand why this person won. This doesn't look like that. Nothing is like your natural eye. So yeah, are there times in bikini where the shit don't make sense? Absolutely. Yes, for sure. But then the majority of the time, it might not make sense to you because you're looking at it through a picture that someone took. It's just not the same. So being able to sit and actually study the sport helped me acquire that champion mindset because I already know what time it is. I understand that with bikini, it takes time. Of course, you will have those occasional anomalies that'll go into a pro debut, bust it wide open, first call out, or maybe even win. I knew that wasn't going to be my story. And I was okay with it because I said it in my vlog one time. I'm not here to be Miss Bikini Olympia. And with me saying that, I didn't realize that it was going to set so many other athletes free because just because you're bodybuilding, it doesn't mean that you even have to be an Olympian. You can still have an impact. See, that's what it's about for me. I have a different story. I have a different, God has a different plan for me within bodybuilding. And it's not for me to be Miss Bikini Olympia. That's for somebody else. That's great. I have a different plan. I'm going to make an impact in a different way. And honestly, I think that's just as dope as someone becoming Miss Bikini Olympia. So if you're in this and you love bodybuilding and you feel like, oh, well, if I don't get to the Olympia, then I'm not going to be cool or I'm not going to have make an impact. No, absolutely not. You can make an impact just simply by being yourself, sharing your story, and being kind. That's literally what it's about.
Girl, yes, I wish this like was a belief of more people because this is something I've personally come to terms with a lot in my own journey through bodybuilding is I'm making an impact regardless of if I'm a pro. Like
100%.
it's not about waiting for the golden platter to fall from the sky when you become a pro so you make an impact. It's like you can do it now. And I realized like I was talking to my coach and I never ever expressed doubt to my coach before. In one check-in, I expressed doubt. And he's like, Celeste, this is the first time I've heard this. And I was like, me too. But I'm coming to terms with something, which is like, if I don't ever get what I would like tangibly, I know that everything I've done in the industry otherwise and plan to do is so much more meaningful to me. And so it's not a diss to me wanting to achieve the pro card or wanting to compete on a pro stage. That is still something I desire. I also know that that's not my value, or as you said, that's not the only reason you're in this sport. And I love how you communicated that because it's literally speaking to my soul. Like that's how I feel. I'm like this, no matter what happens, I have this podcast, like I have the mental health work, I have everything that I'm contributing. And like I would have never in a million years dreamed of that. Like I was thinking about a pro card before I even thought about everything I'm doing now. It's like, so what? It's opening doors,
Yes, and that's the thing because let's just be real. We can only compete for so long. And so I tell girls all the time, you best have something else going on because if all you are truly about is competing, when it gets to a point to where let's face it, what goes up must come down, right? You might be killing it right now, but there is going to come a time where guess what? It's going to shift. I'm already seeing a shift in bikini. I can already tell they want new blood. They're mixing it up. Things are changing. So if you're just solely only about getting on stage, when it comes to a point where maybe you're not on the high anymore, or it's time to hang up the heels, you are going to be a mental wreck. So you have to have something else. You have to.
That's actually proven in literature as well for any sort of post-sport retirement to prevent that type of depression or burnout is to have other things you're passionate about and focused on. So let's actually talk about your passion with beauty, because this is something I've been really excited about getting into with
Yeah.
you, and something that I expressed to you that people ask me about. Do you know someone who does this? Now I can say that I do. And I'm really looking forward to hearing about it, because I think what you're offering is super unique and amazing. So let's start off by just talking about what Amber P Beauty is to you and why you decided to start offering not just makeup at shows, but also the consultations and the lessons that you teach.
Yeah, because okay, we'll get into a little business right now, okay?
Yes.
With beauty, where I started in salon, they don't really teach you how to scale your business. That's the tricky part about being a service provider. I can only make money if I'm behind the chair, which would affect my life because I need a break, but I'm afraid to take a break because guess what? There's no PTO. If I'm not behind the chair, I don't make money. And so when I was doing the whole transition thing from closing my salon to doing stage glam, I realized within the first year, oh, shoot, I'm going to be on that same rat race. I have never had the desire to have my own salon. That sounds hellacious to me. I also never had the desire to start a beauty team, which, of course, going with the whole beauty culture, I'm thinking, okay, well, now I'm going to do the stage glam thing. Well, now I have to build a team. I got to do this. And again, I'm like, that's not what you want, because ultimately that's the same thing as having a salon. Now you've got all these people you have to herd. There's so many moving parts. I didn't want that. And then something else that I realized too, whenever athletes would sit in my chair, I'm the face of my business. So therefore, girls book with me. Obviously, they like the way the makeup looks, but they book with me because they like me. So I understood that by me being the face of my business, which was an accident, that's just the way it happened. It doesn't make sense to build a team because people are booking for me. So at that point, I realized, all right, well, first of all, I'm only one human. I know how many services I can do before I get tired. I cannot have the stress of potentially making an athlete late, because that would wreck my soul. Knowing that a girl missed stage time because I was running behind because I got overzealous and greedy and was trying to make all this money. No, can't do it. So I am very mindful of the schedule. Like, I'm a planner to the T. I only take a specific amount of services, which is why I tell girls, hey, if you want to book with me, go ahead and book with me, because once I get to this number, there ain't no squeezing anybody in, especially at regional shows or shows that are pro am. National shows are a little bit different because they're just longer. But if it's a pro am show or a regional show, yeah, absolutely not. But then I just got to the point where I realized, okay, I'm capped out. I can only do this many services. I need to figure out a way that I'm able to still do beauty, but how can I do beauty and help? I love to teach. That's why God put me on this earth. He put me here to teach, to inspire, and motivate. So I just take all of my coaching and teaching training that I have, put it onto beauty, and help athletes learn how to do their makeup. Because the thing is, again, I come from humble beginnings. I know what it's like firsthand to have a goal. You want to do something, but you're not able to do something because of financial resources. That's whack. I don't like it. And, some people might think, oh, well, that's messing all the other makeup artists up or the business. No, it's not, because there's plenty to go around. Because the thing is, what's for me is for me, and what's for you is for you. I don't believe in gatekeeping. I'm going to help you. Do you know how hard it is for me when I'm competing and I see a girl's hair's jacked up, or I see someone's makeup is messed up? I've done it before. I'll say, hey, can I fix this for you real quick? Like, I don't even tell them who I am or what I do. I'm just like, can I please help you? Like, that's how much I care. So it's not about me trying to, make other makeup artists not get bookings. No, because they're going to get bookings, because people still need to get their makeup done. But I think it is important, regardless if it's a financial situation or not. Like, for instance, with the Chattanooga show, so many flights got canceled. It can happen that your makeup artist flight gets canceled. Then what are you going to do?
Good
You should
point.
have an idea of at least how to somewhat do your makeup for stage glam, because things do happen. It's nice being on your own time. I have the luxury of doing my own tan, doing my own hair, doing my own makeup. So it just makes my show day morning super, super smooth. keeps the cortisol level down. And then if you are trying to get your pro card, it takes a couple of national shows for the majority of us. Okay. It took me 5 tries. That shit adds up. 150 plus times 3. Oh my God. And then if you're booking hair and makeup, that's a lot. Same thing if you're a pro and you're trying to get to the Olympia. My God, that is so difficult to do. So you start adding up all these expenses. After a while, you're kind of like, man, what can I do? I still want to hit this goal. However, what can I do so that way it fits with me financially? That's why I started doing it, because I believe in helping. I believe in giving back. And then I'm also thinking about that girl who was like me, that wants to do these things. You want to grow your business or whatever the case may be, and no one's there to help you, and you don't have the financial resources to do it.
Absolutely. I love how you found other ways to support the niche you wanted to serve. And I think sometimes it's looked down upon to have multiple different offerings or services. And when I was offering mental health stuff, I wanted to have something that's a lower price. So I can relate to what you're saying. You want to be able to help as many people as possible, even if they're maybe not hiring you for the show makeup. Maybe they're getting that instruction from you online. And you also mentioned you're the face of your brand. And I think something that you're really helping other women to see is embracing your natural beauty, embracing who you are and rocking that on stage and knowing that's what makes you most confident. And you told the story about how you used to wear a wig and you tried that and it just didn't work for you. So how have you learned to what is your best look and how to really create that and find confidence in it?
Well, for me, again, so going back with the wig, so the slogan for Amber P Beauty is show off your beauty. That is so important to me because I'm a firm believer that you should not have to change the way that you look drastically for 20 seconds of stage. That is crazy to me. I can't tell you how many girls, especially when it comes to hair color, because that's where I geek out. I'm a color nerd, where I'll get girls who have been blonde since the beginning of time, and now all of a sudden they feel, oh, well, all the dark hair girls are winning, or someone told me I need to make my hair dark. If you are a true hardcore blonde, and first of all, going from blonde to dark is not an easy process. It's ugly before it's actually pretty. And then that's going to throw off everything. That's not how you're used to seeing yourself. That's not how you show up on a day-to-day basis. For me, I tried the wig thing because I was looking at how all the other bikini girls looked. I was like, okay, well, I guess I have to wear a wig. At that point, I hadn't worn long hair in probably 4 years. I used to wear extensions all the time, but then I was over it. I was like, I don't want to deal with the maintenance anymore. I'm tired of having it. And then honestly, it just got to a point where I became confident in myself. And I just like me personally better with shorter hair. I feel like it looks better on me. It suits me better. And that's just my vibe. I tried the wig thing and everyone was saying, oh, it looks so beautiful. Well, no shit, I'm a hairstylist. It's going to look beautiful. That's not the issue. You know what I mean? The issue was on stage, I did not feel like myself. My posing was off. I got hair all over me. Hair flips, what? That's not my vibe. So it's very, very important to me, especially for the short hair girls, and especially for the short hair girls that have coily, kinky hair like myself. Because again, this is something that's not touched on, but I always like to touch on the things. If it makes your soul sizzle, then hey, that means you probably need to be the main person in the conversation. But for us Black women, just in society, we are always told that we need to look a certain way or act a certain way or present a certain way in order to achieve X, Y, and Z. That is the biggest bullshit. No one has ever said that verbatim to me within bodybuilding, but I have heard, hey, you might want to put a wig on. Short hair doesn't do well in bikini. So that's why it was so important for me to show up as I am, because representation matters. And I say this all the time. Hey, y'all, show up as you are. And the thing is, I'm not against wigs. I'm not against extensions. I'm against it if that's not what you want to do, but you feel forced to do it. I love wigs. I love extensions. I think they're beautiful. Absolutely. Slay, kill the game. But if you're truly a short-haired girl through and through, and you're going to feel like a foreign creature with long hair, please do not do it, because it's going to reflect in your stage posing and presentation. You're going to feel crazy on stage. You're going to look crazy on stage, and you're not going to present your best self.
That's such a great point. Like, really, it's about embodying your true self and what makes you feel your best. And you can acknowledge that other looks are great or other looks might be being rewarded, but you can't really win if you feel that way at the end of the day. You might have a crown or you might have a medal, but if you didn't feel like yourself or you felt like you had to be somebody else in order to get that, like, how gratifying is that really?
Yeah. And then that was the other thing too, was a huge mental mind for me was, especially at the national level, that third place was the highest placing that I had, and I had a wig on. So it made me think, oh, the only reason why I was able to achieve that, because not much really changed within that 3 months. Of course, you don't know who's showing up. I get that. But you have to understand, for me, I did something that was totally out of the box for me. And doing that, presenting a different look that I'm not really comfortable with, to me, it translated to, oh, they only like me because I had a wig on. So going back 3 months later, showing up with my short hair, getting third call outs, that stung. That messed with me big time. And I'll be honest, that messed with my mental 100%. And that was one of the reasons why I was just thinking to myself, I don't even want to compete, because if I can't show up as I am, what's the point? But then going back to Jordan, because I had asked her about it, because when I did Universe in 2020, my hair was short. I had like a short Rihanna pixie cut, but it was relaxed. It wasn't in its natural state. And I hate maintenance. Yes, I'm in the beauty industry, but I hate maintenance. I don't want to go get my hair colored. I don't want to get my nails done. I'm just like, I got shit to do. Get me out of here. And so at that point, I was like, I'm tired of having to go get my hair relaxed every 4 weeks. I'm just going to go back natural. And I hit Jordan up asking her, is this going to be a problem? Because I understand how bikini can be. Let's face it. It's a muscle beauty pageant. You have to look pretty. You have to present and look a certain way. And she's all about it. And of course, obviously, she wears her curly hair on stage. And I said, is this going to be acceptable? And she said, yeah, absolutely. Why not? I wear my curly hair on stage. And I said, okay, yes, but you have to understand there's levels to this curly hair. Your curly hair is accepted. Will mine be accepted? Because mine is tighter, mine is coily, mine is kinkier. And so when people look at me, they don't even consider my hair curly. They just think, oh, she's just got an afro, which that's fine as well, which is something that whenever I am talking in terms of hair, specifically curly hair, I say curly hair, because if you have curly hair, I don't care if it's a loose curl or a tight curl, it's still a curl. And I always like to teach my clients to get away from associating their curls with their race. So just because you're a specific race, that means that, oh, your hair's going to look a certain way. I have white clients that have tight curly hair. I have Black clients that don't have tight curly hair. So your race has nothing to do with what your curl is doing. The curl is its own thing and the race is its own thing. So for me, that's why showing off your beauty and having all athletes, regardless of if you have bone straight blonde hair, tight, coily, kinky hair, I need for you to show up in a way that you feel comfortable with, because that's the only way you're going to be able to present yourself properly on stage.
I think that's such a great message, because there's so much, like we were talking about pressure earlier. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on women also to change so much about how they look. I mean, even just look at the filters on social media that are trying to make us all look the same. And so we start to maybe think that we're not enough, or we don't look how we need to be rewarded, or we need to be exactly like this person, or we need to get this done in order to be accepted. And so the message you're sharing is so beautiful, because you're helping to accentuate someone's natural beauty on a day that they've worked so hard to get to, or helping them at least learn how to do that. So I'm going to pick your brain, but I recognize you also charge for these types of services and information. So if anything's too much, just refer us out. But let's kind of get into how to get your best look. So first of all, what are some of the mistakes that you see people making when they do their own makeup?
Man, contouring. Specifically on the sides of the cheekbones. Like, I got a 5 head. So yes, I'm going to contour that bad boy because it's big. So you have to understand, with contouring and highlighting, it's all light play. When you're contouring, you're shrinking something, you're making it look smaller. And when you're highlighting, you're bringing something forward, right? We have diet face. We do not need to contour the cheekbones. It's already there. It's already prominent. And then, of course, understanding your facial structure, I feel like that's something that I'm really good at, because the first thing I'm doing, regardless if I'm working on a competitor that's about to get on stage or just, you know, someone that needs their makeup done, I always consider the bone structure and the facial shape, because let's say if you already have a very prominent jawline, we don't need to make it more prominent. we want to soften it up. So understanding these things, like we already have diet face. Most of the time, your face is already sunken in. You need blush. We want cheeks. So that's something that I see wrong a lot. I love color. I'm a color girl, but sometimes I don't mind a monochromatic look, but if sometimes, and I'm saying sometimes because it can be done, it just has to be finessed a proper way. But if you have a red suit, and then if you have, first of all, matte red eyeshadow looks good on nobody. I don't care what your skin color is. Matte red eyeshadow and matte blue eyeshadow are absolute hell no's. Do not do that. It looks crazy. It looks tacky on stage. It's just not a vibe. But if you have a red suit and then you have red eyeshadow going on, then you have red lip, sometimes it can just be a lot. It can be a lot. And then just depending on your undertone of your skin and how your skin takes it, if you're someone that maybe already has more of a warmer undertone, like for instance, something that I've learned, protein has more of a red-brown undertone, liquid sun rays has more of an orange-brown undertone. So let's say if you already have a warm undertone with your skin, and then you're getting sprayed with protein, which is already warm red, then you got a red suit, then you got red eyeshadow, you got red, it's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And then I think something that a lot of people fail to realize too, I get it, it's stage makeup. Absolutely. Girls are thinking, you got to see it from the audience. Yes. However, there have been plenty of times where I've been sitting in the audience and I see a girl come on stage. She has so much makeup on. That's all I'm looking at. They say all the time, you don't want a body part to stick out more than another. Same thing with your stage makeup. Everything should just flow and be cohesive. Yes, the colors have to be on. Yes, you're putting on a little bit more. But if I'm looking at you and all I can see is your eyeshadow, 9 times out of 10 is too much. And you got to crank it down a little bit.
So how do you determine the best styling for competitors, from their hair to their makeup? Because we know now what maybe some knots. Don't do this. And when you're evaluating someone and they're in your chair or you're coaching them through this process, like how are you helping them pick that best style or find it?
Yeah. So I know for girls, a lot of the question, straight or curly? They say, oh, well, my physique was hard, so I need curls to soften me up. I used to think that. I don't think that anymore, because here's why. The physique is one thing, but your hair is one thing. If you're rocking straight hair on stage, you have to have the healthiest head of hair, especially if you are a blonde and you're rocking straight hair, because the lighter your hair is, light hair is not forgiving. So if there's any imperfection and you're wearing it straight, it's going to show. If you curl it, curling is always going to hide any imperfection. So if I'm working on a girl and she's like, oh, I want my hair straight, and I see she needs at least 5 inches of her hair trimmed, I'm going to say, well, first of all, no, your hair's not healthy. The imperfections are going to show. Secondly, if the hair is touching the glutes, I've done this so many times. If you ever sit in my chair and your hair is touching your glutes, you're getting a haircut. It's on the house. Don't worry about it. That's happening because you have worked far too hard on your glutes for hair to be touching them. You want to see at least, I tell girls, at least an inch to 2 inches of the waistline. So that way you can still see your shape of your hourglass and you can see the glutes. Again, something else, extensions. Okay, cool. Sometimes, just depending on the person's hair or the extensions, it's obvious. So if you have extensions in and you want to wear it straight, if it's looking kind of gappy or spacey, I'm going to say, hey, this is looking a little too obvious. Let me throw a little bit of a curl or a wave in it, so that way it just kind of flows and looks better. On the flip side of that, there is such thing as too tight. If you're going to be curling your hair, you don't want pageant hair. I have this thing in salon and it might be inappropriate. So if this is inappropriate, you can take it out. But I would tell people I don't like perfect hair. You want to have sex hair. You know what I mean? Like you don't want it to be perfect pageant hair, but you don't want it to be crazy rough, but you just want your hair to look a little bit more lived in. That's the vibe that I like for hair and how I help girls pick their hair. With their makeup, the first thing that I tell girls, let me see your suit, because your suit color is going to dictate everything that I do, because I have to pick the appropriate colors that's going to go along with the suit. We don't want to do anything that's going to clash. You want everything to complement it. So I'll look at the suit color. And then, of course, after I look at the suit color, I'll assess the face and I will find whatever the best facial feature is. For some girls, it might be their eyes. So we're going to play up their eyes. For some girls, it might be their lips. We're going to play up the lips. For some girls, they might have beautiful just bone structures and cheeks. Okay, we're going to play that up. So understanding what the suit color is and then finding what their best feature is with those two things, that's how you get the solid look.
How did you learn that?
Trial and error, because let me tell you, when I transitioned from doing bridal special occasion makeup to solely stage glam, it's a learning curve because there's no courses on this.
Right.
And it's totally different. So I had to make a lot of mistakes. You had to make a lot of uh-ohs in order to figure it out as I went along. And so I already had the foundation. I understood bone structure and color theory. So taking all that I knew from being a hair colorist and being a makeup artist and just taking all of that knowledge and then just kind of packaging it up for stage glam, I just kind of had to do a lot of trial and error and figuring it out, and on myself too, because I made the mistake on my first show. I had blonde hair, which looked great in real life, but on stage, especially if it's theater lighting, that shit was orange, brassy, not good. On top of, I have a warm undertone with my skin, and I had a red suit, and I got sprayed by Pro-Tan. This is also like a pro tip. You guys are getting all my little pro tips. So getting sprayed by Pro-Tan versus doing DIY Pro-Tan, which is what I do now, totally different ball game. I'm not the hugest fan on myself of getting sprayed by Pro-Tan because it just turned me, I felt like I looked like a bowl of tomato soup. It didn't vibe right. If I have to get sprayed, I personally like liquid sun rays because, like I said, they have more of an orange brown undertone and it looks better on my skin. But if I'm doing the DIY by Pro-Tan, it's totally fine. I guess maybe because there's more control. I don't know if it's the product maybe isn't as concentrated as when they get sprayed. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure, but those are some little tweaks and things that I've just found along the way.
That's super interesting. And I appreciate you being generous with your knowledge and sharing this with us, because I know you offer this and I want people to be inspired to consult with you. I'm personally feeling inspired to work with you in my next prep. I think that will be super amazing, honestly. So before I kind of take it to the next bit of questions I've got for you, do you have any other hacks or tips you would want to share as far as like prepping for your makeup or nailing your look?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I talk about this a lot on my Instagram and I probably drive people crazy with it. Skincare. We should be taking care of our skin regardless. This has absolutely nothing to do with getting on stage. Skincare is key. You only get one face. Take care of it. You need to understand what your skin type is. This is crucial because once you understand what your skin type is, it's going to help you pick products for your makeup appropriately. I see it a lot, especially if I'm competing backstage, where I can tell an athlete has dry skin. And then I don't know if she did it or maybe the makeup artist put on a matte full coverage foundation. Listen, if you have dry skin, and you put on hardcore matte full coverage foundation, you're going to look like a dried up corpse. So understanding your skin type, and then once you understand your skin type, you can pick the appropriate products for your skin. And then stage glam prep for your skin. Make sure brows are groomed. take care of any peach fuzz. We all have it. We're alive. It's okay. I like to use this like a little brow razor, and I'll just slowly go over my face with it. I like doing this in general. I'll do it once a month because it just makes your skin look nice and glowy and plump, and it's really pretty. So making sure you're taking care of all facial hair, exfoliate your face as well. You know, I'm someone, I exfoliate my body once a week year round, and I personally feel that's why my tan takes so great, versus if you never exfoliate your face and all of a sudden, okay, it's peak week, you start exfoliating. I think that could be why some girls do have issues with the tan going on, just simply because you hadn't exfoliated your body all year long until it was time for you to prep for your tan. So exfoliating your body once a week, exfoliating your face once a week as well, but that's something that you should totally do. I like the Clinique 7-day scrub. I like that one because it's very finely milled and it's not going to break your skin open. It's just very, very gentle. This is great if you have dry skin. Any dry patches is going to relieve and pull all of that off, because if you do have dry skin or combination skin, excuse me, where you have any of the dry patches, if you don't get that off and you put foundation on, it's going to grab. And same thing if you have any kind of facial hair, peach fuzz. This happened to me probably like 4 years ago. I was doing a trial for a bride. And it's hard to say, yo, girl, your face is hairy. Like, right? That's not professional. We can't say that to somebody, but she didn't like her makeup, but it was because she had so much peach fuzz on it. So it wasn't laying on smooth. And I couldn't for the life of me at that time say, well, you know, if you shaved your face, this would look better. Yeah. But being definitely making sure that you are exfoliating, taking care of any facial hair, making sure that you are putting on moisturizer, eye cream every morning and every night. And for the love of God, y'all, take your makeup off at night. If you don't take away anything else from this, please take your makeup off at night, because that is going to wreck your skin. When you think about it, you've been outside in the elements, you got makeup on, then you're coming home, you're laying your dirty face on your pillow, right? So now you have all the bacteria on your pillow. If you're not switching over your pillowcase, guess what? Now your pillow is just breeding bacteria. Every time you lay your face down, you're going to start getting breakouts, or things are just going to start looking crazy. So making sure that every single night you are washing your face. I am someone, if I have to train after work, I keep makeup wipes in my bag. I don't care about looking cute in the gym. That's just me. I understand some girls, that's the thing. And if that's you, I'm not here to like make you feel bad. I get it. You got to do what makes you feel comfortable. But I have oily, acne prone skin. So therefore, me training in makeup is a no-go. That's not happening. Now, it's one thing if you're like doing content. I get that. A photo shoot. Yes, you need makeup on. But if I'm about to have a crazy glute day, I know I'm going to be sweating like a maniac. There's no way I'm going to be training with a full face of foundation on. Wipe it off.
Those are some really great tips. I actually appreciate too the long-term care perspective, not just you're a week out and it's time to start prepping your skin. It's definitely nice to hear the proactive perspective as well. And I think it's an awesome opportunity too for people to connect with you and reach out about like how they can determine those things. So yes. By the end of this episode, we'll for sure plug that. But for now, it's amberpbeauty.com, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I just wanted to plug that, but so in case people don't keep listening, at least if this captures your attention, you know, definitely want you to check that out. But that is so awesome. And I think from a business perspective, what you've shown is like following your passion, following your purpose, even if you don't know how it's going to look, or even if it's different than what you expected or what you once had, right? Like it's maybe not as much money, maybe it's not as much standing or as much clarity or predictability, but it's something you're enjoying. It's something you're finding your way through. And then I also think it's really cool how your heart was calling you to this. And even though you were stuck, right, felt tied behind the chair, you eventually did pursue it. And then throughout your competing journey as well, going through those ups and downs and still prioritizing or finding a way through is really beautiful. And I think there's probably so many women listening who are at that rock and a hard place with their business or with their marriage or with friendships. And you seem to really rely heavily on your faith through this journey. So do you have anything else like that I didn't maybe ask you regarding the journey itself that you could share, maybe that you took away from it that you want our listeners to hear?
Yeah, actually, there is one more thing because I feel like this is very important just in regards to just me and my business, especially at the very beginning with beauty. It I couldn't find my place within the beauty industry. I struggled with that the entire time because within the beauty industry, I don't know if people realize it. There are so many things that you can do within beauty. I mean, my God, you can be a beauty influencer, you can be a hairstylist, you can be an esthetician, a makeup artist, you can be a beauty editor. There are so many things. And when I graduated beauty school, I was already the receptionist at my salon. And I had to quit coaching so I could do that. And I saw immediately I wasn't making any money. And so I said to myself, I'm just going to go get my personal training certification. So at least I could do that on the side while I'm doing, the whole hair salon thing. But, I realized, okay, I got to focus on this. But I said all of that to say it took me 10 years to find my space in the beauty industry. I knew the salon space wasn't for me. I've done New York Fashion Week twice. Fashion Week is not for me whatsoever. Did not like it one bit. Bridal, God bless all the bridal girlies. Bridal is like the Hunger Games. It's just, bridal was hands down the least fulfilling job I've ever done. Ever. And for me, I have to be fulfilled. I have to feel good about what I'm doing. That if that means me taking a pay cut, so be it. My happiness is so important. So whatever it is that you're doing, if you're thinking about starting a business or whatever the case may be, understand that yes, sometimes at the very beginning it is very difficult, but understanding who you are and follow your heart and what makes you feel good, because I've done it. You get in the habit of chasing the money, right? Because let's face it, we have bills and things. However, not at the expense of you hating what you're doing, because that's what started happening to me. I was resenting going into the salon and I started feeling bad about it because I love my clients and I'm so grateful for my salon experience. But it just got to a point where I'm sitting here doing a full head of highlights and I'm thinking about this cool glitter eyeshadow I want to do on an athlete at a show. So follow your heart.
That's super awesome. I think that's important. And I can vouch for that too in my journey, like through this business. If I didn't listen to the calling to start this podcast, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. It was literally just because I was like, I'm okay with having a passion project. Like I can't continue the business that I had with the knowledge that I didn't start this podcast. So I knew I just had to do it. And now it's changed everything for me. And I think it does take time. You don't know what your end is going to look like. And even where we're at right now may not be where we are forever, but we love where we're at. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is we found our way. And I think that there's a lot of people who can. And I feel like we're going to have so many more conversations too. And definitely, so you guys, I'm telling Amber before we hit record that I'm hoping to do an in-person podcast studio and get her out there in person, because I'll be in South Carolina and she's in North Carolina. So it's something that we're thinking about. And I know we're going to have a lot more to talk about. There's even things on my notes that I'm like, we didn't get to it, but it's something that I know we'll have an opportunity to cover. And so before I wrap up this episode, I like to get best advice. So what is your best advice for someone who's never competed before but would like to? And then your best advice for someone who's on their road to pro?
If you're brand new to this, it's very easy to become overzealous at the beginning. You want to hurry up and get there. I want to be great. But what you have to understand is greatness takes time. And yes, you will see those girls, like I stated earlier, who just come in, boom, kill it off the gate. Congratulations for them. But guess what, sis? You probably are not her. Take your focus off of other people's timelines, off of other people's journeys, how someone else looks. If you have never stepped on stage and you're looking at a 5-time Olympian, you ain't going to look like her in 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. There's levels to this. So my best advice is take your time, learn yourself, figure out your body, what makes you tick and talk, and try not to put so much focus on other athletes because it's really easy to get lost in that. And then what's going to basically happen is you start feeling bad about yourself because you're comparing someone's year 8 to your 2 months. They're not the same.
Beautiful. That's great advice for both the pre-competitor and the road to pro. So I appreciate you sharing that. And I can definitely relate and take that into my own journey. So how can people connect with you, follow this journey? No, you know what? I can't ask you this question yet. Rewind. A listener wanted to know, and I would regret not asking you, what is next after your pro debut? I should have asked you, like, what's your feedback and what are you doing?
Yeah, so feedback. Well, first of all, so if you guys follow me on YouTube, my whole series on a mission that was leading all the way up to the pro card win. So that was pretty fun to do. And so that title was On a Mission. So for my pro debut, it was Mission Unforgettable because, like I said, I understand my place. I get it takes time. Very realistic, right? And so I told myself, I'm not worried about a placing. Let's just try not to come in last place. Did that by the skin of my teeth. It was fantastic. 15th place. I'll rock with it. I'll go with it. We got the second call out. But my main goal was to be unforgettable because I'm new on the scene. No one knows me, right? So I just wanted to go out there. That was the best I've ever felt, the best I've ever looked. Posing routine, hair, makeup, glam, suit. Thank you so much, KH, and all that glitters for hooking me up and making me look beautiful. And I wanted to just be unforgettable. So when I got off stage to get my feedback from Mo, who I absolutely love, I said, "Hi, Mo, I'm Amber, competitor number 130. She goes, "Yeah, cool. I know who you are. I judged you last year at Junior USA's." And I was like, "Oh." And I was just so flattered because this woman sees so many athletes. Do you know how many athletes she's seen since last year of Junior USA's all the way to now? So the fact that she remembered me, which was cool because I remember when I went to Junior USA's last year and I was checking in with her. And she looks at me, she goes, "I'm so glad to see you here."
Aww.
I was like, okay, cool. So that was the mission to be unforgettable. But for her, she said, posing, presentation, she said, your energy is really good. She said, just be a little bit tighter with the glutes, which I agree. I knew when I woke up on Saturday morning, I wasn't as crispy, but I didn't freak out about it because I was like, well, shit, we're here now. There's nothing we can do. It's pro debut. I know my makeup's about to bang, so let's just go. You know, I had some gut stuff going on. So that's why I was like, whatever, you're not crispy, but it's fine. So she's just said, just tighten up a little bit more and you'll be fine. So, I mean, that's easy. We can tighten up. I'm waiting to hear back from my coach right now because we're game planning and figuring it out. I know I want to compete one more time. I want to do more. Yeah, we're just not sure yet. But one more time, and then I more than likely will be going into improvement season because I want to work more. So, like Tyler told me in Universe, upper body's tapped out. We don't need any more muscle. He said if I do anything, just a little bit more density in my glutes, which I feel like if you ain't Laura Lee, keep working on your glutes.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about that. So if your feedback is just glutes, you're doing really good. He told me that in Chattanooga, it was way too much, which I agree. Of course, I was butthurt about it, but I'm really good at just, taking my emotions out of things and looking at the lineup. And I understand why I came in 6th place. I was not in line with the other girls. I was not the criteria. I was way too jacked. I pumped myself up way too much. So going into Universe, I took in that consideration. I was very careful with it. And he said it was night and day, much better. No more on the upper body, more glute density. So that's what I'm going to be working on just improving my glutes and then focusing on my business, making sure that I'm giving the best service whenever you guys are getting on stage. And then, of course, beauty consultations 101 and doing more stage glam webinars. I am going to be doing stage glam webinars monthly. That is happening. Right. I don't know when this launches, but the next one will be August 20th. And I'll have 2 sessions because the first one filled up, which was great. So I'll have a 12 p.m. and a 5 p.m. So you want to come hang out with me, learn some stage glam, you can sign up for that. I do keep it limited spots though, because I just want to make sure that everyone's able to ask their questions.
So this will launch August 18th. So if there's spaces available 2 days out, contact you and see. If not, you'll let them know when the next one is, it sounds like.
Yeah, because by then I'll probably already have another date for September. So, and there is a wait list too. So if you go to the link and you either it's booked or you can't make it, just get on the wait list and you'll be the first to know about the next one.
That's awesome. So go ahead and share your Instagram and your website with us so everyone can find that.
Yeah, so my Instagram and my YouTube are just my name, Amber Pacholok, Pacholok. I know that's a rough one. And then my website is just amberpbeauty.com.
Awesome. And I will put that, or I'll have my assistant, Laura, put that in the show notes for you guys. So that's always on celestial.fit/podcast. Not only will you have access to those links, but you're also going to see a breakdown of this entire episode in a summary format, as well as a bulleted summary. And you'll have episode timestamps. So if you watched along with us on YouTube or you're feeling inspired to, you can actually usually click those timestamps and go back to certain moments, which is really fun. And also it gives you the opportunity to share it with teammates and friends and let them know what parts you like the best or what was covered in the episode and why they need to listen. So I always appreciate when you guys tag us in the stories. I know it goes a long way for me and for the athletes. And I get messages, you guys, from the guests that I have on. And there'll be screenshots of your guys' messages or saying, oh my gosh, I'm getting these amazing feedback on an episode. And like, that means so much to them. And it means so much to me too. So keep sharing, keep reviewing, keep rating, sharing this podcast out there. And hopefully this service as well that Amber offers, because I think it's really unique and special. And Amber, thank you so much for coming on to share this.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Like I said, I just think the world of you. What you're doing is incredible. So keep going. Keep doing the thing, girl, because you're killing it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So to everyone listening, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you're in the world while you're listening to this episode. Just make it awesome.